let's move to some rapid fire questions. So in as few words as possible, what do you consider your most valuable failure?
My first management experience.
Okay.
I did not train the new financial analyst hardly at all, and it ended up having an effect on his career, and he ended up leaving the company. And by the way, he should have, because I'd screwed up.
Okay. What do you think is people's biggest misconception of you?
It's probably that I have a natural inclination towards left brain, analytical, mathematical stuff.
Okay.
I don't actually. I've always trended a little bit more towards the emotional, a little bit more towards words rather than numbers. But it's something that over the 7 years so far of my career, I've focused hard enough on it that my personality has actually shifted a little bit.
Interesting. As it turns out, money buys you stuff.
As it turns out.
So if you could choose anyone or almost anyone, I'll give you the caveat in just a second. If you could choose anyone as a mentor, who would it be? The caveat is you may choose a religious figure, but not from your own religion. Otherwise, anyone's in play, living or dead.
Napoleon.
So let's cheat the rapid fire process a little bit. Why Napoleon?
When you think of a dictator, what do you think of?
Iron Fist, My Way or the Highway.
Hitler, Mussolini.
I don't care.
Chairman Mao, Joseph Stalin.
I don't care what you think.
How did Napoleon rule?
Yeah, I imagine you're about to tell me.
I mean, have you ever heard of mass atrocities committed by Napoleon or his troops?
Not really. My only real familiarity with Napoleon is that he won a lot of battles. He lost at Waterloo, and he was really short.
He actually wasn't really short. He was average height.
Okay.
The French foot was a different measurement than the English foot at the time.
Yeah.
And so it ended up being, it was reported that he was, X feet high.
5'2" or whatever.
Yeah, 5'2", which, in English feet was very short, but in French feet was 5'7". Yeah. 5'7", and which at the time was perfectly normal. But from a propaganda perspective, it was useful for the English to portray Napoleon as this petulant child, so to speak, who was doing all these horrible things to the world to satisfy his own ego because he was so short and he just wanted to be a little taller.
Those height privileged Englishmen.
So to cheat the rapid fire a little bit, Napoleon united a tremendous amount of the world, and he did it, from what I can tell, compared with other dictators, largely without atrocity. He governed well. He was overthrown twice, but his family ended up coming back into power, and I'm sure there are things that I don't know about, and I'm sure that there are instances of bad behavior, but how hard do you have to think for instances of bad behavior for anyone with the level of authority that he had? And I just can't think of any. So he must have done a pretty good job.
Very interesting. So what is your fondest memory of Texas A&M?
Nebraska in 2010.
Ah, okay. That's a good answer. One of my fondest memories is Nebraska 1998. I was at that game. I fully expected a bad beating. And we ended up winning 28-21, as I recall, but we were up 28-7 at the start of the fourth quarter. And it was as close as I've been to complete anarchy in a football stadium. And we won the Big 12 championship that year.
Yeah. Reggie McNeil
over
OU wasn't
at that game. I was playing at that time.
Yeah. that was a good one. And then, after graduation, of course, the entire 2012 season.
So I want to briefly I want to diverge off on a tangent for just a second. People talk about how varsity athletics needs to be separated from the university process. And here you and I are with a lot of history at this university. I have 2 graduate degrees from here. You have a degree from here. We've gained a tremendous amount from our educations at this university. And yet the things that we both fix on, probably more true for you than for me. Like my best memories here are mixed between sporting events and educational things. But the idea that varsity athletics doesn't matter to the recruiting process, to the university culture and so forth. And the idea that we shouldn't be spending that money spent on the head football coach's contract, for example, to use a hot stove issue from recently. The idea that a university should not concern itself with these kinds of things, or that coaches are overpaid, is ridiculous, in my opinion. There's a reason that Alabama's application numbers are so high right now. It's because everybody wants to go to a school where you go watch a winning team every single Saturday. And I have respect for Alabama as an institution, and I'll leave off there. And to say that I wish we were doing it the way they are in terms of, and I think that hiring a coach like Jimbo Fisher with a national championship pedigree was unquestionably a wonderful move.
Of course.
And if he had cost $150 million, I would have said, pay it, and I'll make a donation. And so anyway, I'll get off my soapbox now. We typically end each interview with a little bit of good bull. This is an opportunity to recognize someone else for something good or great that they have done. Do you have anyone that you would like to send some good bull?
I would like to recognize Jack Gouge, who was class of 2011. Okay. And he was in the Corps. He was in I think he was in Outlaw 8 was his company, and he has been serving the country ever since then as a in the United States Air Force, and he has been out there protecting our freedoms for years, and I appreciate it.
We want him on that wall.
Yes, we do.
We need him on that wall. So, David, thank you for taking the time to stop by and visit with us a little bit.
Thanks for having me.
We appreciate you, and thank you also to our listeners for tuning in. Thank you so much for watching. If you would like to stay up to date on our latest videos, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon to receive notifications. If you're in a rush or on the road, you can still join us on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you find your podcasts. If you want to learn more about us or our guests, please visit our website at mays.tamu.edu/podcasts. Also, please check out Mays Business School's academic programs. They're the sponsors of our show, and you can find them in the description. Thanks, and gig 'em.